back to World Crisis Radio. It's the 3rd of October here in Washington. And once again, on the 5th of October, Sunday, KDKA, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon with my good friend Chris Moore. So now, let's just a couple of other notes on this ISIS situation. We've just had Biden, and this is really hard to interpret. Biden opens his yap. Well, we know that Biden has a big yap and a mind like a rag bag. So Biden opens his yap on a trip to Cambridge, Massachusetts, I think. And he starts saying, look, you know, our biggest problem in the Middle East are our allies. And he says, essentially, Turkey and the Saudis, Turkey and the Gulf states are funding these terrorists, and they should stop. So it means Turkey, clearly, Gulf Cooperation Council, mainly Saudi, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, the wonderful gratitude of Kuwait for being reinstalled in power. See how far that gets you. And then he says, moderate opposition. Why, says Joe, Lunch Bucket Joe says, there is no moderate opposition in Syria. There is no moderate opposition. And I think this is a very important point. There is a moderate opposition, and it's where you'd expect a moderate opposition to be, in the parliament, running for office, contesting elections. The moderate opposition is not an armed terrorist killer opposition. It's peaceful. I met some of these people when I was received by the governor of Homs in November of 2011. I met with he had a bunch of people there. He had all of the religious leaders, Christians included, but he had some one or two westernized women who could have been at home in Paris as well as in Homs, and another guy, very interesting, a Marxist. He was actually a Marxist poet, and the Marxist poet said Assad is too soft. He should crack down more. And the fashionable women were saying, we just want to be able to organize politically, have our own political party, and so forth. That's the moderate opposition. And they've been essentially back with Assad from about April or May or whatever it was of 2011. The people who are armed are all terrorists. The armed opposition is ipso facto the terrorist opposition. Let's get that all clear. So Biden is right. And of course, I guess based on this, we'll have to stop the plan to spend $500 million on the moderate terrorist opposition. And of course, even without that, there's going to be a grave difficulty in finding moderate terrorist opposition figures who can be actually vetted moderates. They have to be. That's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard to find. So the other question, the people that McCain is right? McCain knows his terrorists. McCain had said to Kerry 10 days ago, John, I know too many of them, terrorists, right? Free Syrian Army, Nusra, ISIS. I know too many of them, said McCain. They'll never do what you want. They'll never stop fighting Assad to focus on ISIS. And indeed, that turns out to be an understatement. The various so-called moderate terrorist opposition groups in Syria are turning against the U.S. They say, this is no good. We don't want to bomb ISIS. They say, we have no quarrel with ISIS and the caliph. We don't care about that. Beheadings, we don't care. What we want to do is fight Assad. Obviously, they want the spoils, don't they? So the people that the U.S. proposes to arm are saying they're not going to turn these weapons against ISIS. They're gonna focus on Assad. So there is no moderate middle in Syria. It's gone since about February, March of 2011, since McCain and the International Republican Institute, this is very important, one of the two wings of Project Democracy, in other words, the National Endowment of Democracy, which organizes coups and destabilizations and putsches around the world under democratic camouflage. One of the two wings is the International Republican Institute, chairman of the board, John McCain. Okay? So that's a whole mechanism for destabilization. And you'll remember that some of the destabilizers, the meddlers of the U.S. who were arrested in Egypt, one of them was this kid LaHood, son of the Republican congressman and later Obama cabinet official Ray LaHood. So the young LaHood had gone back to the Republican gravy train, and he was building his resume by destabilizing Egypt. That's the International Republican Institute, right? They organize coups. There's a Democratic Party version. I think that's the one that the former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright was a part of. Now, Turkey. The Turkish parliament now says, okay to intervene. You're allowed to intervene, Erdogan. But this does not mean that Erdogan will intervene, or Erdogan may intervene in such a way as to attack Assad, to provide a safe haven for terrorists. Right? There is now this fight going on at the city of Kobane. It's in Syria. It's right near the Turkish border, a mile away. It would be very easy for the Turkish government to close the border. That's the big demand. Close your blankety blank border to those terrorists, and their logistics will be cut off. Array your army massively on your own side of the border. No, this is a competing plan for a caliphate, right? If you say new Ottoman Empire, my God, the Ottoman Emperor, up until about, 1920, was the caliph. So Erdogan says, what? Caliph Ibrahim? You must be crazy. Everybody knows that Erdogan is the new name for the caliph. Well, sorry. People in Turkey need to think now. If they expect the United States to come and help them in case of aggression, and they can't even close their border, I think even in the arid and imbecilic lands of mainstream media, this is going to be too much, and we've even seen that in the Congress. And we're also, how about this? According to Press TV, ISIS, the Islamic State, has representatives of Caliph Ibrahim, McCain's friend. They have now opened a consulate in Ankara, Turkey, and if you want to get a visa to go to the ISIS-controlled parts of Syria and or Iraq, you can go to the consulate there and get that visa, I'm sure, for a very hefty fee. Now, how does this, let's see, that's what your friends are doing to you. Now, your so-called enemies, right? Let's take Syria. Moallem, always a monument of dignity, the Syrian foreign minister at the UN, laying out the position, dignified, calm. And later in the press interviews, he said he urges the United States and other countries to bomb all the terrorists in Syria. He's happy to see the U.S. bombing them. And he says, why don't you give up on your dualism by virtue of which you are willing to bomb some terrorists and help some others, or maybe even bomb at one time and help at another time the same terrorists. That's going to be